Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to My World. And of course, we couldn't do it without the Hall of Famer, the greatest professional wrestler of all time, your friend and mine, Double J, JArrett. Jeff, how are you, man?
Oh, Conrad Thompson, happy solar eclipse day. It's one of those days. Craziness in the world's going on. We're going to talk a little women's basketball ratings, and I want to pick your brain on a few things that it always circles back to professional wrestling. Like my son Cody, no matter what comes up, whatever song comes on, whatever wherever we're at, he always dials it back to something wrestling related. So we'll get there. We got baseball and the honorable words, the famous words of our mutual friend Dave Green. We had a lot of chatter to talk about. We're going to dive into Conrad, all kinds of things. Fun topic. AEW is rocking and rolling. Dynasty's coming up. Lots of buzz going on. So, Connie, how are you? I know you've, this is round 2 for you today, so I'm going to bear with you and help carry the load. I just won't sit here and I'll do my best today, Conrad. That's all I'll say.
You do your best every week, and that's why we tune in each and every week. Glad that you guys joined us. It is going to be a big week, not just because of the solar eclipse today, but we're starting a new era in WWE. For the first time in years, Roman Reigns is no longer the top dog. It's actually Cody Rhodes. And of course, when you were looking around once upon a time for Global Force Wrestling, you decided, hey, we needed an up and coming belt. We need a next big thing belt. We need a next gen belt.
Oh, here we go. Out of the gate.
And you picked one person to wave the banner for Global Force Wrestling, and he's still waving it today. Cody Rhodes. How about that?
Oh, a lot of fun, man. Wrestling, everything is a story in life. It's just how you look at it through a prism, what lens you want to put on. I'm going to tie it back to the eclipse. Just the beauty of professional wrestling is the interpretation of it, and everybody truly interprets our business on different levels at different times. And I'm not talking about the tribalism or the hardcore versus the casual versus the first timer or whatever it may be, but we all have a different spin and a different view of it and what we like and dislike. But at the end of the day, it is an emotional, somebody at the gym this morning, wrestling. It is wrestling. It has a lot of tailwind, and I think it goes back many, many years. Honestly, I don't think I think pre-pandemic, there was kind of a tailwind coming in a lot of ways. And with the launch of AEW, obviously it built up a lot of steam, but you dive into that story and Cody's story, when you tie it all together, what'd that start in, Conrad? 70s? If you're truly want to say, when did this story start? It started in the 70s. Would that be an accurate statement, Conrad?
It's pretty crazy to think about, but yeah, I mean, that's where the story started. And I guess we could say the story's finished, but in reality, a whole new story is just starting. Of course, there's a lot of maneuvering, and it felt like a little bit of a PR deal. I wanted to get your take on that. Boy, if we heard it one time, we heard it 1,000. It's a new era in wrestling. It's the Triple H era. It's the Paul Levesque era. We heard that from Paul Heyman. We heard that from Stephanie McMahon. People were denying it in the post-match presser. Of course, Paul is saying, "Oh no, it's all of our eras." But boy, it did feel like an about face. We opened night 1 of WrestleMania with Paul and opened night 2 with Stephanie, and we closed night 2 with Paul in the ring. What'd you make of all this, man? Does it feel like the regime change is complete, or are there still more moving parts?
I've learned something over the last few. Let me think, because Conrad, that's you came right out of the gate with the hard hitting stuff to try to put it into concise words. Because for me, I'm still kind of processing it all. But again, I was going to say I've learned something the last few years. patience is an action. A lot of folks don't look at it that, oh, no, he's just going to have patience. He's just going to either sit there and wait or not think about it or do this. But, silence is a decision. And coming from years gone by, that it was kind of a mixed bag in the essence that, I'll call it, if we're calling it the Triple H regime, I guess you have to call it the Vince regime or, however, the founder regime. He never wanted his name mentioned at Hall of Fame. And, there was just the positioning. So it is without question a new era. I think with the thing that I've noticed, also with Kevin Dunn not sitting in the seat, how things are shot, how things are produced, just a little bit of that. I think me and you were texting about the behind the scenes show that's about to come out. There's more than there that meets the eye. So it is without question a strategic initiative, because there are no such thing as coincidences. I mean, it was loud and proud and bold, and I get it. I mean, we don't know what the future holds, but we certainly know that the positioning that they came out of this, and man, stock's up this morning coming off, and I'm sure it's going to be records. I was thinking about at the gym that Cody worked Saturday night, worked Sunday night on the Today Show this morning, and he'll be at Raw tonight. What a grind. So his story, finished the story. Well, buddy, he just saddled up. He's got a brand new book in front of him. He thinks he's worked in the past. He's about to work. But no, Conrad, let me ask you that. I don't even know if you'd call it PR or marketing, but just the new era.
The messaging. I mean, that's what it was.
Yeah, messaging. What's your thoughts on it?
Ding dong, the witch is dead. Witch, oh witch, the one named Vince. I mean, that's what it was all about to me. I mean, there's a report we woke up to this morning that they've taken his stock down to 4.7%. WWE's buying another $239 million from him. So Vince is going to cash out again, like 1.5 billion since September or something crazy. But I think they're doing that just to diminish his name, and they certainly did their best with that in the last week or so. I mean, the new Bray Wyatt documentary doesn't even feature the Vince doll from the Firefly Funhouse matches.
Oh wow, okay.
So like we're just we're setting it aside for now. And I know that there's some debate about whether or not that's the right thing to do. I think this is probably the modus operandi until that lawsuit's settled. When all those loose ends are tangled up, I suspect we'll start to see maybe not a celebration events, but an acknowledgement events.
Yeah.
But I think all those celebrations and acknowledgments are probably on pause for now. And it feels like maybe Brock Lesnar is on a pause too. We heard at the Monday night or the night one press conference that Brock Lesnar is still with WWE. He's just at home doing Brock Lesnar stuff. Maybe everybody's taking the let's wait and see approach for now.
And that's what I was saying. We don't know what the future holds because it's life. I mean, expect the unexpected. One of my Stoicism philosophy short reads last week was just about that. Life comes at you at hard and is relentless and never ever lets up. Expect the unexpected. Expect change. If you get comfortable in anything, that's your weak spot. It's going to change no matter if it's good or bad. So it's interesting to see where things will go. But man, for our industry, Conrad, it is. Oh boy, it's huge. I just think that's what I always try to sit back and think about. That, you know, 2 back-to-back nights in a stadium, of course, just all the stadium stuff. You know, man, we could go on and on about that.
Are you surprised that we got not 1 but 2 nights of WrestleMania and no Rock promo?
No Rock promo.
The Rock didn't pick up a microphone and talk into it on Saturday or Sunday.
But he did his talking in the ring. I mean, I think that
I
was
know, I get that. I found that curious.
okay.
There was no pre-match promo from The Rock. I thought for sure there'd be a pre-match promo on Saturday. I thought for sure there'd be one on Sunday. Oh, it's Bloodline rules, blah blah. We got none of that. I thought that was interesting.
Well, you know what? And for me, I don't read into that really at all, that he built the heat for the last 2 months, 3 months, whatever it may be. And they set the hook over and over and over. They went off hot off the air on Monday. Now it was time to give it all back. And him doing his catchphrases in a promo would probably, I don't want to sound.
Well, hear me out. I have a theory.
Okay.
Let's go full screen on Jeff here.
Oh boy.
Jeff, that wasn't Dwayne Johnson wrestling over the weekend. That wasn't him doing a run in and getting chokeslammed by The Undertaker.
Deep fake.
That was Sonny Siaki. What? When I was in Huntsville watching with my dearly departed Uncle HR, when the Flying Elvises made their way down the ramp at the Von Braun Center, he looked at me and he said, "That's the next Rock." And I'll be damned if The Rock didn't wear that Flying Elvis outfit to the ring on Saturday night. And then again on Sunday night. He's got them shits in every color. Sonny Siaki, ladies and gentlemen. It took a long time for him to finish his story. A story that started right here in Huntsville, Alabama. And 22 years later. That's Sonny Siaki, Jeff. That's 100% Sonny Siaki.
I don't know about that.
Did you hear him talk? That's the only differentiator. Because I'll be honest, I could go watch Elvis dance or I could hear him sing. And of all the people who paid to see The Rock wrestle, more of them paid to hear from The Rock. They didn't get it. And it's because that wasn't really Dwayne Johnson. It was Sonny Siaki. And he can't throw the voice. You know what I mean?
You are always one step ahead, different. I know, Pat. Yeah, I mean, you're doing the old double J.
Sonny Siaki.
Smart. Yep. Outsmart them all. Connie, you're going to outsmart them all. My goodness. You are.
What a great promo. That's easily my number one or number two Jeff Jarrett line in a promo. Outsmart them all.
Outsmart them all.
AEW is going to outsmart them all this weekend. I can't believe this is real. But tomorrow night, the long-suffering story of Rhodes challenging a Samoan Joe for the world title. The boyhood dream is going to come true. Dustin is challenging for the AEW world title. Just days after his brother beat another Samoan named Joe for the world title. What in the world?
Can you imagine? How about that? See, kind of, literally at the top of this, I said, everybody interprets the business different and a different slant. And then when you get the snowball rolling, whatever way it may be, it makes it fun.
Yeah.
I say that complete sincerity. It just makes the business, the business can be so much fun. It's us humans that get into all the nonsense and riffraff and throwing barbs back and forth. But if you take a step back, even that's fun. It's nothing like it, my man. Absolutely nothing tight. We've got a lot going on Wednesday night at Dynamite, wouldn't you say, Conrad?
I would agree. It's a busy week for AEW. First of all, that nothing happened in Alabama, definitely a football school, is not going to be monopolizing time on Saturday night. So Collision is going to start on time, and there's even a special right after, Battle of the Belts 10 from Highland Heights, Kentucky. It's like a 5-hour drive for me, so this is a home game for you. But that's going down on Saturday. As you're listening to this, tomorrow night, Charleston, West Virginia, one of my favorite towns, believe it or not. I actually had a great time there years ago at an AEW show, and I found it to be a fun little town. Easy in, easy out.
Yep.
It's not going to be easy in and easy out for Adam Copeland. He's going to be defending the TNT title against Penta. It's the Cope Open, and my goodness, Penta and Edge a few years ago would have been a dream match on most people's radar, and now Edge is back. and he's not even Edge. And he's defending the TNT title against Penta. Not only that, but we mentioned Samoa Joe is going to be taking on Dustin Rhodes. I'm such a big fan of Dustin and that story. I know what I said earlier could be taken as tongue in cheek, but I actually advocated, as you know, Jeff, pretty hard to have Dustin challenge for the NWA title on Ric Flair's last match. So I'm thrilled that he's getting a shot.
Yes, you did.
I love when we have conversations about, hey, who's the best wrestler to never hold the world title? You know, we often hear guys like Ted DiBiase or even Mr. Perfect, even though technically he was the AWA champ. But Dustin, man, certainly belongs in that conversation. When AEW was first getting started, I was hopeful he'd be one of the first champs. I just thought it would. I mean, after that match he had with Cody, who could deny the dude know how to tell a story? And we're going to see his story tomorrow night. But that's not really, unfortunately, somehow, some way, the story we're all talking about. Instead, we're talking about what felt like an audible that was called. I have no inside knowledge. I haven't texted anyone to ask. But as I finished night one of WrestleMania, I flipped over, watching Collision. Towards the end of the show, I heard what sounded like a taped VO from Tony Schiavone, where he announced that tomorrow night, for the first time ever, the Young Bucks are going to show the security cam footage from All In London. Now, of course, this comes up because about a week ago, CM Punk sat down with Ariel Helwani and basically set the woods on fire. And now this feels like it's in response to that. And there's been a lot of criticism going around. People are saying Tony's lost it and Tony's out of touch and Tony is selling and this is a bad look and this is a bad idea and it's going to go nowhere and blah, blah, blah. I, for one, on the other hand, as you might imagine, I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt. I think that sometimes our most memorable moments in wrestling are the works that become a shoot or the shoots that become a work, and whatever Hulk Hogan told us about working ourselves into a shoot, brother. But goodness gracious, if this is a way to bring back Jack Perry, this is going to be exciting. And I want to remind everybody, Jack Perry's wrestling Friday night for New Japan in Chicago. Tickets are on sale now. What do you make of this? I don't remember there being, because let's process when this information happened. This is a VO from a taped show that airs 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, and people were talking about it. Now, some people were dunking on it. Some people were being critical of it, but people were talking about it between night one and night two of WrestleMania. Even now, the morning after WrestleMania, we're still talking about it. We can poke holes in it, Jeff, but is that not mission accomplished?
Oh, Conrad. So yeah, boy, where did I even start on this? But the thing, again, the interpretation, but it goes without saying that the highest trafficked weekend out of all 52 weeks of the year is online, is WrestleMania Monday. But now that WrestleMania is 2 nights, I would assume that the metrics are sky high on night 1 and night 2. And, you know, today going into today 3, they're all going to be very high. And to create that kind of buzz, and I mean, people, what is the word, folks? Unhinged. People have come unhinged in so many kind of different ways. And Conrad, I often in my mind think, now, Jeff, are you not processing this in 2024 mindset? Because Conrad, from the day I broke in, I was always of the mindset to create the most revenue. And I know this sounds cliche-ish, but to create the most revenue in our industry is that you got to have obviously big personalities and larger than life. And, you know, you got to define who's the protagonist and antagonist, baby face and heel, all those kinds of things. But at the very, very core, the way to create the most revenue is to blur the lines, period. Like, end of story, blur the lines on. Now, is that real or is wait a minute, that wasn't supposed to happen, or that wasn't supposed to be said, or wait, that guy nowadays that everybody is perceived so in tune with the business. Hey man, he went off script. I mean, you look at the success, and I'm not going to get into the territory days because it's what they did every Saturday morning, not just in Memphis, but around the country, try to blur the lines, get people dialed in. Well, the Attitude Era at its very core kicked it off. Our man NWO, it was the WWF invading WCW, Hogan, Hall, and Nash. Holy smokes, we never thought we would see that. Then you got into the Attitude Era, and you go, oh my God, Vince is wait, he's really the boss. And Austin's talking to him that way? There's no way, Austin, there's no way that Austin went off script. That just the whole domino effect and the ebb and flow of it all is blurring the lines. And so what a set of circumstances that we have tomorrow night. And as I just sit here and again process it real time, the whole essence are we're going to see real footage. I'm assuming, I'm like you, Conrad, I don't have any insider knowledge, but I actually work there, but I'm glad I don't know any of this because it makes it fun. But we're going to see real security cam. Isn't that how Shivani said it? The security footage. Conrad, help me out. I want to make sure I'm not saying this.
Shit, I don't know. I don't work there. I'm guessing too.
Don't get lippy with me. Shivani said security cam footage.
I don't know. I mean, that's
well, look.
I only say that because I know they have the security.
That Roll Tide got beat Saturday night.
Not at all.
You're going to revolt. Connecticut's going to win tonight.
They are.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. I'm going to go Purdue. That's it. We'll talk predictions in a little bit. Anyway, Dynamite, we're going to see real footage, and how's this going to blur the lines? Where's it going? Who's involved? Who's not involved? But certainly a weekend that was obviously the whole world talking WWE and WrestleMania and everything that goes with it and the new regime. I would say AEW has quite a bit of chatter. Whether it's good or bad, that's up for everyone's debate. But at the end of the day, we'll see how it plays out on Wednesday. And that's the greatest thing about this business that I learned as a kid. Hey, son, there's always Saturday morning. We get to reshuffle the deck. I don't care how good or bad our TV or our houses were this week. We got to go do it again and saddle up. So it's exciting, man. It is so exciting. You're tired.
No, I'm really trying to wrap my head around.
Oh boy.
This reality is so often not as interesting.
Oh God.
As the gossip and the rumor and the innuendo. I'm just saying all that to say people who are really excited to see security cam footage are going to be disappointed. I haven't seen it, but I'm just saying, man, what do you think happens? Like, if anything, I'm hopeful. And I know we've been told, I forget if it's Alvarez or Dave, who were like, this is not a troll job. This is not a bait and switch. It's gotta be. Like do you remember when Shawn Michaels went on Monday Night Raw right after the screw job and says that Bret Hart was here and they played Bret Hart's music and a little person came out in a Bret Hart mask? It was silly, but that checked all the boxes. That's what he's supposed to do. Well, if you really want this fan base, because there has been tribalism around this. You know, we saw Edge doing a rah-rah speech on TV last week. But I'm just saying, I don't know that I would have done that either, by the way, but we don't want to make the focus of the fucking tape a guy who ain't here. So the focus has to be on the guy who is here. So therefore, we got to have some fun with that tape. I hope this is a coming out party for Jack Perry. I hope this is them using that as a springboard to make the guy, whether you like Jack Perry or not, regardless of this conversation. But the idea that we use this to make a guy and get people talking and reintroduce him, that makes all the sense in the world to me. But like, what do we think is going to happen if we just show the footage? Like, let's heal it up is what I'm saying, Jeff. I know you're picking up what I'm putting down.
Here's kind of, I'm almost conflicted that that's where you're at in the mindset, but maybe you're not finishing your thoughts, because to me we'll go back to using the analogy. If we've got this book called AEW Dynamite and the chapter written on 410, April the 10th, 2024, one of the paragraphs, or however you want to break down your book analogy, is going to be the discussion and the reveal and the viewing of a absolutely real deal security cam footage. The story, the chapter doesn't even end there. This is a paragraph out of this chapter. It all depends on how things are taken, what the positioning is, who does this or does that, what's said after the fact, what's said around it. I'm like you, coming out party, whatever, but there's no doubt about it. The centerpiece of it all is Jack Perry. He works for, he doesn't work for WWE. I'm assuming there is some type of a relationship. There's got to be. Look, again, I'm there, but I don't want to know. I damn sure don't want to know. But man, it's got me and you talking about it and intrigued, and mission accomplished. Period. Coming off WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah. So listen, mission accomplished. People are talking, people are buzzing, and I just don't. I know I was careful with my words there, but said differently, quote unquote, real fighting is not nearly as fun to watch.
Oh,
professional wrestling. And so if there is a headlock or a front face lock or a shove, and
yeah,
I'm saying this is an industry where we see people pretend to get exploded by bombs, and we're hitting people with chairs and kendo sticks and flying off scaffolds, and guy pulling a front face lock on some grainy security footage.
That's
all right then.
Okay, but that's just one paragraph. It's where are we going to go with it? Or maybe it's the headline. Where are we going to go with it? And that's got Jeff and Conrad talking about it.
Well, what's great is I know people hate these phrases, and I know not Punk, but Hunter made fun of it in January. This feels like more forbidden door stuff. Hey, we're not supposed to see this. I mean, that to me is what makes it cool. But mission accomplished. It worked, and people are talking about it. And I, for one, am excited about that. And I'm excited to see if I have this right. You relaunched your TikTok at Real Jeff Jarrett, and you've been working on some websites and stuff we teased last week, right?
Yes. It's with my, I guess you could say my business, my different businesses and opportunities. Obviously, me and you, Slapnuts Inc., we embarked on our podcast venture. Is it 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, whatever it may be, and having a blast and stage shows. And I got a lead on one, Conrad. Both of our schedules, we'll have to figure that out. But as a part of that, with Springfield Lucky Horseshoes, with WrestleQuest, I've got a joint venture called Moonsault Digital in the gaming business. With all that being said, I am relaunching globalforceentertainment.com. It is just a website, kind of a one-stop shop for all things that I'm involved in. It's pretty cool. We're going to have some wrestling news on there, of course, because you can't really have news or day-to-day stuff about the last outlaw, Jeff Jarrett, without including wrestling. So it's going to have wrestling, gaming, baseball, podcast, a little bit of everything. That's globalforceentertainment.com. And then just specifically for the podcast with our ads and our partners and boxofgimmicks.com and all kind YouTube, everything that kind of goes specifically with the podcast, realjeffjarrett.com. It's real simple, realjeffjarrett.com. So as a part of that, I've partnered with some great folks in Real Jeff Jarrett. TikTok is I've never done too much. I've had different folks kind of shoot me videos here and there, but now we're going to be cranking out a lot of content. Conrad at Ad Freeze, I'll let you speak more to it, but our YouTube initiative across the board, I guess you could just say we're upping our game across all levels. What's the catchy catchphrase on YouTube? Why don't you subscribe, hit that bell, whatever it may be. But no, just growing all the platforms, kind of a one-stop shop for all of our ads. Anything that we advertise on the podcast, you can also go to either of the website, globalforceentertainment.com or realjeffjarrett.com. So, relaunching a lot of things, and it's the weekend to do it with everybody who's loosely associated with wrestling. We figured we were going to do it at the beginning of the new year and didn't have a couple of things ready. So we're ready. We're off and running. So all things Jeff Jarrett, AEW, baseball, and the such, my man.
Check it out if you haven't already. Real Jeff Jarrett on TikTok and, of course, globalforceentertainment.com. And if you're on the website, globalforceentertainment.com, you'll see right at the top, little wrestling coming to the Capital City Clash in conjunction with Shoes Baseball, the Lucky Horseshoes, the Springfield Lucky Horseshoes. It's going down on September 21st, 2024. Wrestling and baseball, it goes together like apple pie and vanilla ice cream. Goodness gracious, how pumped are you for this?
Conrad, it goes without saying, coming out of the pandemic, my partner, Jamie Toole, reached out to me, who at that time was just a longtime friend, a minor league baseball executive, the very, very cream of the crop, the very, very tip top. And he made a decision coming out of the pandemic that he wanted to basically take a step to the next level. And so he put together an ownership group, invited me, very grateful for that. And we launched at 2:17 p.m. On February 17th in the 217 area code of Springfield. That's when we launched the Springfield Lucky Horseshoes 2 seasons ago. And since the day I arrived in Springfield and got to know Newhoff Media as our partners, Conrad, you would love the folks, Sam Madonia, and I could go on and on, but they are fantastic media folks in the market. They're partnering with us, but since day one, I went to Robin Roberts Stadium. It's got so much history. Satchel Paige played in. I mean, I could go on and on about the history of baseball, but have said from day one, man, putting a wrestling ring on home plate is a dream of mine because I've gotten so involved with the community. You know, our saying at the Lucky Horseshoes is baseball. It's our platform. It's not our purpose. Our purpose really is to bring that community together, bring them out 30 or 40 nights a year, and enjoy a cold beverage and some food and watch some baseball and lots of entertainment. But we've done that, and we could not be more excited to go into to year 3. But this is the year that we decided let's do a big base brawl, big Capital City Clash is what we've named it. So it'll be the first annual one at the end of the season. So Saturday, September 21st. I know that's a couple of months off, but we're going to put tickets on sale this Friday. And Connie, I could just say this: there's someone local in the community that I've already got a guitar lined up for his ass. So yeah.
You know, I've never been to a Shoes game. That'll be my first one. I'm gonna make that happen. September 21st, Capital City Clash. Let's do it.
Yeah, no, we're all very, very excited. We're not going to do it now. We're going to get closer to the season, but we'll talk about all the different promotional nights. Arn Anderson is going to be there for Horseman Night, Sergeant Slaughter for Military Night, but we got all kinds of things lined up. But yeah, Capital City Clash. We just announced it this week, and tickets go on sale this Friday. ShoesBaseball.com.
We should also mention that there's some other news and notes from the weekend before we talk about our topic today, which is 2019 for you. But, you know, we've talked a lot about the Cody Rhodes story on this podcast and every other podcast. But another story that sort of quietly was under the rug on Friday night, I want to bring to the light because I think it's such a great story. And I don't think you have to have been a huge Ring of Honor fan to really get it and understand it. Of course, I'm talking about Mark Briscoe's historic win over Eddie Kingston. He is now the Ring of Honor world champion, and it happened 11 years to the day after his brother Jay won that world title for the first time. some things are just meant to be. And considering what a big part of Ring of Honor the Briscoes were, and how tragic it was that we lost Jay and nearly lost his girls, and they overcame. And now Mark wins the world title in Philadelphia, which is one of Pennsylvania is the spiritual home of Ring of Honor. And he won the world title there 11 years to the day after his brother did. Man, this was just great wrestling. What'd you think of this?
I'm going to go back to something that we often mention on this show that I have said different ways, but I think at the very core of everybody that puts on boots, it is something that we are emotionally attached to the industry. It's that simple. You can get into this business. You can say, I want to be a world champion, or I want to make a lot of money, or famous, or whatever it may be, but there's an emotional attachment to it. And look, I can't relate on this deep a level. Him winning the world title, Mark winning the world title, and his brother won it 11 years ago. So to have a big brother, if you will, in this business, that they teamed and the success they had, but to have this opportunity, the emotional bandwidth that in a lot of ways that he carried with his match, and I watched it Friday night, that he carried with him is just powerful. How can you not hear about or watch that story and not just have a real feel good moment? That's what, so the Ring of Honor brand had an equally as a feel good moment to me as the WWE brand. It is something that it is a story that you could not script, because in the Briscoes set of circumstances, what extreme tragedy. But in so many ways, the tragedy of losing his big brother is, in essence, the platform that made this night so special for himself, for his parents. God, seeing his dad in the ring, how emotional that was. His family, his brother's family, on the weekend, that everything that kind of goes with it. Me seeing Jay Lethal, who obviously I've been close with Jay, but super close over the last couple of years. Seeing him there, it is, Connie. I'm going back to the emotional attachment that we as talent truly have. It's obviously a night that many, many folks will never forget. It was special, special, special.
Go out of your way to see it. It's one of the things that makes wrestling great. And before we move on to our topic, I want to give some shout out and some props to a guy who you and I haven't spent a ton of time talking about, but I know how proud you had to be. Behind the scenes, Bobby Roode has become a power player to the point where he produced, alongside Michael Hayes, the main event on night 1 and night 2 of WrestleMania, and that fabulous parking lot beatdown from a few weeks ago with The Rock and Cody in the rain in Chicago. Man, Robert Roode was one hell of a wrestler, but he might just be a pretty damn good agent too, huh?
Hey, don't get me started on B Roode. I've told the story on this podcast. Bobby Roode did a promo backstage in the Asylum days of TNA, and his look and everything that went with it. And he delivered the promo, and I knew that he had some type of tryout or look-see or something with the WWE. And he got done with the promo, and this is 2002. Yeah. So 20 something years ago, I look at Scott D'Amore and say, now, why didn't they sign him? Like, are you sure? I couldn't believe that they didn't scoop him up then. To me, he's that kind of talent. And I say this, that his demeanor, And all through the years, Bobby, me had a very close relationship all through our time. And he actually texted me on Sting's last match. Said, "Hey man, give Stinger a hug for me and tell him congrats." That's Bobby. I literally can't say enough good things about him. And it doesn't surprise me at all that he is stepping right into that producer role. He's a thinking man. That's when I look back on my time with TNA, I was the lucky one. AJ, phenomenal talent, pardon the pun. Abyss, a thinking man. Bobby Roode, Eric Young. I could just go all the way down the list, but Bobby, always a strategist, thinking, him and James and Beer Money. When you kind of put that yin and yang of that together, Bobby he's a hell of a talent and a hell of a mind. And most importantly, really, and I don't say this as cliches, he's a great dude, man. He is a really good guy. So congrats, B Roode.
Shout out to Mr. Roode, man, doing big things in the ring and out of the ring. Also want to give a shout out to a day one sponsor for us here on the show. Today's episode is brought to you by Manscaped. Did you know that one man every hour, every day is diagnosed with testicular cancer? In fact, testicular cancer is the most common form of cancer amongst men 15 to 35. And with April being National Testicular Cancer Awareness Month, our friends over at Manscaped had partnered with the Testicular Cancer Society to help spread awareness for men's health and early cancer detection. Visit manscaped.com/TCS to learn how to check yourself for early signs of cancer. And as always, you can still use our handy dandy promo code MyWorld. You'll get 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. But serious business, I want to take a second to talk about some men's health issues that are important to me. We don't talk about this sort of thing a lot here on the program, but my dad had prostate cancer more than a decade ago, and he kicked out. But boy, we are so thankful that he did, because I've had other friends in my life who weren't as lucky. And with this in mind, I want to remind you, you can perform simple, routine self-checks at home while enjoying Manscaped products to use every day, like the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. It makes sense. We use products daily to trim and maintain our boys down there. The Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. It's got 2 interchangeable skin-safe blade head, a standard one, take a little off the top, and a new foil blade to go smooth and sleek. You've also got dual LED spotlights, so you'll get better visibility. You can make that trimming even more precise and hassle-free. You don't have to worry either. This is not going to make a mess. It's waterproof. You can shave in the shower. You can shave in the bath. You can even shave in the damn ocean. And you can take the trimmer wherever you go to, thanks to its wireless charging capabilities and the travel lock feature. In addition to providing the right tools and solutions for comfortable and easy grooming, Manscaped is committed to raising awareness and giving support for fighters, survivors, and families impacted by testicular cancer. And right now, let me tell you, this is a big deal. They've donated $50,000 to this Testicular Cancer Society. How about that? Help save lives and balls by going to manscaped.com/TCS and sharing their funny and educational check yourself video. And while you're at it, by the way, you can still get 20% off and free shipping when you use our code MyWorld, because like a famous American philosopher once said, take care of your mentals, your balls, and your chickens. Jeff, we're here. We're finally going to talk about why we're here. 2019.
You want to talk about Manscaped?
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. Now, have you used your Manscaped this past week? No, I'm kidding, Conrad. I'm totally kidding.
Yeah. When we finish here, I'll stand up and show you.
I'm kidding. Conrad, I'll get aside. I have used trimmers and shavers and all the good adjectives, and you always have fun with that. But those folks at Manscaped, they really do. I mean, they step up. They put their money where their mouth is. But I've used trimmers. Conrad, do you know what this week is? You probably don't. It's 38 years. April 6th of 86 was my first match. So this is my 38th year. And I've used trimmers my entire career. There is not a better trimmer made, period.
Check it out. Use our promo code MyWorld to get yourself a hookup and some free shipping. Save some money. Use that promo code MyWorld. So, Jeff, let's jump into it, man.
Oh boy,
We're going to go back 5 years in time here to the Royal Rumble 2019. And believe it or not, you're out number 2. So not only are you back in the Rumble, but you drew a shit number. That's pretty cool to come back. And were you nervous, anxious, excited? I mean, at this point, it's been a while since you've been wrestling in WWE. I mean, what, since 1997, 8?
No. Remember 2000? No, 99, October of 99, the China match.
That's right, the China match.
Yeah.
I mean, so 20 years later.
Yeah, so, I mean, but to I guess 20 years to jump off into the whole story. I think that's probably 2018 was when I was inducted to the Hall of Fame, and even going into that and coming out of that, I was, as we know, putting my life back together in so many different ways. But I was Mexico, was a part going down to AAA in Mexico, independent, ICW in Scotland. I had a couple. Anyway, I was all over the place as it relates to my work life. Independent shows, Mexico. Gosh, I just had one when I was doing research. I was trying to think. A series of fairs and festivals and baseball shows that toward the end of the year we were looking at putting in for 2019. Again, this is the tailwind of the independent wrestling. I don't know when you want to say that got hot, 16, 17, 15. Anyway, the business outside of, now look, AEW in 2018 had not launched. Is that correct? Yeah. But there was a lot of business going on outside of that. And Conrad, when I got that call in December, I was shocked, may be too strong, but I was definitely surprised. And, the first part of the conversation was, we'd like for you to be in the Royal Rumble 2019 in Phoenix. And I said, okay, shoot. Yeah, let me look. And I was booked in Milwaukee at an appearance for a hockey game on that Saturday night. So I'm like, oh, and they said, oh yeah, you can just come in Sunday morning. We're going to keep you a surprise. I'm like, all right. So I'll shut up, Conrad. I don't want to get too far ahead of the story, but yeah, I was very surprised when I got the call.
What did you think of working with Elias?
Oh, so the look, I won't get into too much of the nitty gritty here, because this podcast will end up being 3 hours. But they said, hey, what do you want me to wear? Because I had no idea my different iterations, and the word came down, we want you to be 95, 96 Double J. You're in that role. I'm like, okay, I got to go dial up. And they said, yeah, we're going to get the hat out and get it back working. And I went, oh boy. Okay. So it is full on Eric Bischoff's favorite outfit of mine. So that was, people like, well, you wore that? And it was like, I'll never forget Gorilla Vince just looking at me like, what in the hell? We had a good laugh. Triple H, folks in Gorilla, when I came down the steps to go out, they're like, yep, he's definitely all in for this Double J character. And the lighted hat, you can tell if you're watching on My World YouTube. I mean, that hat was literally 25 years or 20, however old it was, but they got it back working. So, but when they laid out from a creative perspective, what my position was, I thought it was perfect. I mean, I don't think I could have been in a better kind of highlighted position, because when people see legends, they know that it's all right, we're going to get entertained by them, and then they're going to be out. And so the setup with Elias being one and sitting in the ring, and at that time, when he strummed his guitar, the people came up and the reaction was there for him, and just everything that went with it. And when they hit my music, I was very grateful for the response and the reaction. And again, the story, had I not had, the yin and the yang of Elias, who knows kind of what my reaction would have been. It might have been, what this, but knowing the guys in the ring with the guitar and here comes Double J, it just fit. And from the day I met Elias, we hit it off. Extremely good working relationship, which turned into a personal relationship. But a lot of fun in that 2 or 3 minute, the guitar shot in the back. I've never liked those. I never liked taking them or giving them, but it stung like hell. But it's part of it. And the people for the 5 minutes of Double J and Elias, they got their money's worth.
What do you think's next for Elias, the real life guy behind the character? Is he going to continue to pursue wrestling?
My understanding, yes. I have, we've had offline discussions off and on through the years. And the for me, and I've shared this with him, so I'm not sharing anything. I think we've either got to be a heel or a baby face, whatever it may be. I think he was one guy that got kind of caught out in
neither fish nor fowl. Yeah.
Yes. No man's land, because he would get a response. I mean, a really good response live, but it never, to me, pushed on to the next level. And I know that's a creative decision. But I always said from the beginning, and I think wasn't Dusty instrumental in his early days in NXT, like the Drifter? Yeah, I just, someone like a Dusty or Dusty, someone that had a vision for that character. I think he could have gone to a whole. He's talented and he can work, and he's got a unique air about him. His charisma is unique. And I think that works for that, but I never could get an understanding. Again, I think it was just kind of a lack of focus, that creative never really defined him as a heel or a babyface or stayed with it long enough, but that's neither here nor there. I think he could be very successful in this business. Very
well said. So we see you at the Royal Rumble and we see you on Raw the next night. And that's when you've got Road Dogg with you and Elias is here. You guys are going to be singing With My Baby Tonight. And then everybody gets laid out with the guitar. Meltzer had this to say: JArrett with Road Dogg versus Elias. JArrett didn't wear the jacket or the hat this evening, but still came out to the 90s music and his goofy 90s catchphrase. They sing With My Baby Tonight. I love the idea that this is now some lost classic in WWE history. Elias interrupts the concert, buries the guy in the ring, buries the fan. Elias gets the heat, then knocks Road Dogg off the apron, turns around into a JArrett comeback. JArrett was sucking wind, but made it through his comeback. I guess Pondwater was right in that part. Yeah. Then Road Dogg tried to interfere. Elias punched him off the apron, and they turned around and gave JArrett his finish for the pin. Made both guys look like geeks. A WWE lead writer involved in a finish like that is disconcerting. 7 minutes and 49 seconds. Road Dogg then jumped Elias from behind, made his own comeback, and then him and JArrett laid him out 2-on-1. So to recap, the heel won clean in the middle after thwarting cheating by the baby faces. Then the baby faces double teamed the guy and beat him up afterwards. I read this sometimes and I think to myself, old Dave Meltzer might be taking this a little too seriously. This is supposed to be nostalgia and fun. What say you?
Conrad, it's old Uncle Dave just picked up where he was either in the TNA days or the USWA days or wherever it may be. Let's just carve up Jeff the best we can, because that is one thing from an entertainment perspective. Oh, Conrad, where'd I go? But
well, you know what? I wanted to ask for your photo again, because if you're watching from 2019, and we got some shots of you here from 2019, people who saw you wrestle every other week last week, how do you somehow look better in 2023 than you did in 2019, Jeff?
So I'm going to, okay, I'll answer this and then I want to go back to that. How do I look better in 2019? So Conrad, right?
2023. How do you look better now than then?
Diet and Corey, my trainer, We work out a completely different level. I'm going to say this. I'm not a fan of intermittent fasting. During this time, I was intermittent fasting. Believe it or not.
Okay.
I was intermittent fasting and it didn't work. And so this is, what did we just say, 2019? So I've been sober 2 years. But again, how I work out today and have since coming out of the pandemic, what was that, before Ric Flair last match? So 6 months, 7 months, no, a year before Flair's last match, whatever it may be. I just completely changed how I worked out and ate. Intermittent fasting, I got that thing down to I only ate between 2 and 6 at night. I just think that's not a healthy way to go. And maybe this picture is proof of it, but my workout also changed big time. But back to, go ahead. You follow up.
And then randomly that song, I mean, all of a sudden it's a lost classic. Like, what? Dave's right. Where the hell would that happen? I don't get it.
What's crazy is, and I did watch this back on WWE social media. Me and Brian were both kind of like, damn, people in wherever we did roll out, I think Portland, and was one of the weeks, they remembered every word to it as good or better than me and Brian knew the words to the song. So when we did it at the Hall of Fame in 2018, and that was instructed, I mean, me and Brian looked at each other and, okay, Jeff, when you get done, Brian introduced me or inducted me, and I gave my acceptance speech. And then the powers that be, because I was creative. Yeah, I want you to call Brian out. And Brian busted me, and we did that song. And Cardona was in the crowd, and he wanted us to come over. So we walked through the crowd that Hall of Fame night. People, for whatever reason, that song resonated. It's a catchy little silly tune, but again, that's a Dave pot shot. But no, nostalgia. And recently, a marketing buddy of mine here in the Nashville area, we were having conversations, and he just said, "Hey, because we were talking about nostalgia, and we got into the NBA conversation." And I'll tell you what, I wanted to go back to this, Conrad, a little sidebar, because I want to ask you, and you be thinking about your answer. Why in the world is Caitlin Clark women's college basketball? What has resonated? Because her game last Friday night, ratings wise, and I hadn't heard the recent rating for the championship game, but last Friday, a Friday night, beat World Series, NBA Finals, all college football except one game, all kind of bowl games. The only thing it hasn't beaten really is the NFL thing, and that's an anomaly. But that's a ratings. Caitlin Clark is a ratings juggernaut. I want to get your reason why. But in this whole conversation that I was having with the marketing guy, is we talked about all kinds of things and what sells tickets and marketing and ratings and all that. But he was just like, Jeff, he said, there's a reason that a young artist who has, let's just say, he can do a 90-minute set, but about an hour of that 90 is his stuff. But why does he do 30 minutes of covers? And he goes, because people are emotionally attached to the song, not the singer. They're attached to the song. So covers is all about nostalgia, and people have their different twist on it. And their new artist does different covers. When you integrate nostalgia in professional wrestling, it's a feel-good moment. And man, Dave does not feel nostalgia, I don't think, on any level. Certainly didn't feel Road Dogg and Double J nostalgia as he reported on this. And that's kind of, to me, a little bit of a head scratcher, honestly, that he just carves it up just to carve it up.
Let's talk a little bit about where you were in your contractual relationship with the company. My understanding is these appearances were supposed to be one-offs, and then you get the producer job. Do you have the producer job and then these on-screen appearances? Because that's it for you on camera for a bit.
Yeah, no,
Talk to me about this.
from the very first phone calls, but probably phone call was, hey, we want you to do the Rumble. And we're thinking about maybe following it up the next night. We're not real sure. So so we did the Rumble, and the following night, they thought they wanted to follow that up but it was contingent upon the reaction we got at the Rumble. That could have easily been scratched. I mean, easy. When we did the thing on Raw and it got that kind of reaction, Vince and company said, hey, let's put Jeff and Elias in a match and get Elias the win, which made sense. So the second week was completely unexpected. But from the very beginning, the request was come do the Rumble, and then we for sure want you to be a backstage producer, and we'll just kind of see where things go from there. So that was, that was the arrangement, agreement, thought process. At the same time, I wasn't coming just to do the Rumble ever. I mean, that wasn't just going to be a standalone. It was do the Rumble and then come work behind the scenes.
How much of that timing do you find curious? I mean, you've been around the business for decades. You've been on the outside looking in of WWE for 2 decades. And oh, by the way, the very month where you're back on TV and being offered this job is also the month that All Elite Wrestling is formed. And they're going to bring in other guys like Shane Helms, who most recently was in that era working with TNA, Sean Daivari, Abyss, Sanjay Dutt. What do you make of this? Is this timing curious to you that all of a sudden they're wanting to beef up behind the scenes around the same time as AEW is launching?
And I heard that chatter, literally from day one. But when was the announcement that SmackDown was going to Fox? I want to say that was.
It was early.
Was it spring or summer of 18?
I don't recall. I know they had Bruce and Eric and all that go back and ahead of that or after that rather.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I was always under the impression that it may feel AEW, that may be on top of it, but the SmackDown announcement and
June of 18.
From that day forward, it was my understanding, and hearing, like you say, little birdies chirp here and there, they knew when they signed that deal that their company was fundamentally changing in a lot of ways. And so I always viewed it as that's the reason, that they knew that they better amp up across the board production. I think the roster was always deep because they did 2 shows, but production, anything behind the camera that was a part of production, they knew that the game was changing. They weren't exactly sure. And, Conrad, it wasn't long after I got there. Maybe I'm sure it was already in the process. They hired an outside consulting firm. And I know they spent a massive amount of money because the amount of folks who were around and all this. They did a study and research and feedback from all departments, not just folks that were on the road, internally, how they were going to do business. They knew dealing on this set of circumstances, they wanted to get an outside viewpoint and how they were going to run business. So I think as a part of one of that was you better create 2 creative teams, to producer agent teams, all that. I always looked at it. That was the first priority, and maybe the AEW, but I don't think that was the main situation. Not in the chairman's eyes at that time.
Tax season is here, which means you've received or are expecting that tax refund any day now, and you're thinking about what to spend it on. How about a new home? With SaveWithConrad.com, we're helping renters become homeowners every single day, and it's more affordable than you think. You don't need perfect credit. You don't need a huge down payment. In fact, you may not need a down payment at all. At SaveWithConrad.com, we take the stress out of the home buying process. We'll determine your buying power. We'll even help you find a realtor. And unlike the banks, we don't say no. We say not yet, but here's how. So if you're not ready right now, we'll get you on a plan to be ready. Stop throwing your money away, paying someone else's mortgage with your rent, and start the path towards owning your own home today at SaveWithConrad.com. NMLS number 32416, equal housing lender. SaveWithConrad.com. It's reported not very long after you return in the Observer, quote, regarding Bruce Prichard, he's not the number two guy in creative or anything quite at that level, but he will have influence. He was described as now working full-time with the term roving consultant used, although we don't know if that's his official job title. He was described as being a guy in the process, but when it comes to influence, he would be below Paul Levesque, Brian James, Dave Kapoor, and Ed Koskey. One person has heavily praised how Jeff Jarrett has been handling himself since coming and said he thinks Jarrett will become more influential as well. Prichard and Dana Warrior are among 4 new people hired who are not on the writing team, although are consultants in some form. Dana had been looking for a regular gig in the company and wanted to be on creative, so this is a way of testing her out, and she may end up on the writing team and is being groomed for that possibility, but it isn't at this time. The line about her being able to give a woman's perspective was hers, although WWE has a few women on the writing team who have been praised to us. I got to tell you, it tickled me reading Dave saying he's definitely not second in command about Bruce. Just a few paragraphs after he was saying, I don't know why all of a sudden people like this Jeff Jarrett song so much. It's a little amusing to me. But yeah, Dave was right. Bruce has no fucking power or influence in WWE at all. Hope you enjoyed that hug in the center of the ring after the biggest WrestleMania of all time.
Hey, but folks, what's so simple when you kind of look at it, that look, we hadn't launched the podcast, but we had done Starcast. No, had we?
Yeah, Starcast 18.
Yeah, well, so yeah. Anyway, so I was elated when I heard, you mean Sanjay? Yeah, Sanjay's coming. Abyss is coming. 2 of my, obviously, love those guys. And then Bruce was coming. Well, Bruce can't be here for about another 3 or 4 weeks. Well, why's that? Oh, he's got these things called stage shows and something to wrestle with. And Conrad, didn't y'all have several going on?
Yes. We did a little farewell tour. We had one live show in Mohegan Sun in Connecticut, and it was a super show. Eric Bischoff and Bruce Prichard, myself. It was right after Bruce was announced as going back. We had 2,000 tickets sold.
Yeah, I knew it was kind of that, but I'm going to go back to at the end of the day, WWE looked at the Fox deal and said, we're going to need more executives. I think that's the real, very, very basic, very simple term. And who's the guy that had been in a WWE executive role since the late 80s, who was available and on the market? To me, it was just so kind of a no-brainer. And so here comes quite a few new hires, but to me, it was all triggered by the massive, massive deal that they got with SmackDown.
How quickly were you on the plane, on the jet?
Quicker than I thought. I was hired to be a producer, and I made it clear, and Paul Levesque could not have been any more open and again, I think that's a skill set. He's a listener. I think that's listen. And I said, hey man, I appreciate the hell out of this. Again, putting my life back together. I love wrestling. I love producing wrestling. I love being a part of the creative business. I love doing it all. And I told him, I'm like, hey man, producing is 1 or 2 days a week. I would love to do more. And the next thing you know, I'm in Stanford having a meeting with him and Vince, and basically saying, hey, and when I think what Meltzer call it, roving consultant. I don't know. I never used that term or never heard that term, but it's kind of accurate that basically I went from a producer role pretty quick within not even a month to, hey, come to the office, be a part of creative meetings, be a part of live event meetings, basically dive in head first, and we'll figure it out as we go. There was not any title given, none of that. It was creative works meets on this days, live events this day. The jet leaves here, the jet leaves there. So it was quick, about a month.
I know that sounds silly and you laughed when I said it, but there is a hierarchy, or there was in WWE, and on the plane, it's about as high as you get, right?
I guess you could say that. Yes.
What do you mean you guess? How many thousands of dollars of sushi you ate on that damn plane? Come on.
as,
That's the
as Paul Heyman, as he would cut his eyes at me like, Conrad, what you and Cassio's the biggest, what are the
man versus food is
no, but at the meal, the look y'all had when I said, hey,
y'all gonna finish these appetizers? I knew where you were going.
Well,
you would let them sit for a while, like, well, nobody's touched that one in a few minutes. That's down to the last one. There's two over in that one, and
I got manners.
There's one over here.
I'm using manners.
And so when they come bring the salads, you're like, okay, so is everybody agree they're done with the appetizers? I can have what's left now. I mean, it was like it was your first meal. I was so
Conrad, I'll just say that on that jet, there's a lot of advantages in this world to not drinking alcohol. But I can assure you this, when you're not drinking, you got a hell of an appetite. And Heyman would just look at me like, you son of a gun, you can eat. Well, look, anyhow. So, yeah, it really, I was grateful. It's an honor, being a part of a company that size and rolling along. But Vince, Kevin Dunn, and Triple H, and then us peons in the back. No, I loved it. We laughed and cut up. It was, and
what was day to day like for you in this era? Like showing up to TV. Like, what are you doing at TV?
So when I first went there, I've got to kind of recalibrate my brain because SmackDown had not moved to Friday nights yet. Yeah. Gosh, man, time just flies. But I would leave my house and go to Raw, wherever it may be, and then do TVs and go from there, fly to the, Raw, SmackDown, Stanford, home on a Friday. So it was 5 days a week. And the creative sessions, sometimes, the stories are out there. I'd love to listen to a few here and there of Bruce's reminiscing through the years, but yeah, a creative session, go to 1, 2, 3 in the morning. All hours of the day. But no, that was creative, and get Raw written and SmackDown written and pitches and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, but in general, that was it. TVs, office work, come home.
The Observer would have this to say: as noted last week, the belief is that Jeff Jarrett will become very influential, or at least a key guy in creative. One person involved felt watching how Jarrett plays the game that aside from Triple H and the key writers, Koski, Kapoor, James, and Seitz, aka Michael Hayes, and perhaps Heyman, that he'll be the most influential guy there before long. Jarrett is well known for being very charming, as far as if you can work with him, and has the ability to get over very quickly that makes you feel like he's a friend. Plus, with a lot of current wrestlers having grown up watching him as a wrestler or knowing he ran his own company, that gives him some authority when talking to the talent that a non-wrestler isn't going to have, particularly with a generation of wrestlers who grew up as fans, but not business fans. He had his downfall in Impact due to issues related to drinking, but since his rehab, there have been no reports of any issues. So I'm curious, when you hear that report back, who would you assume is the person who was picking up the phone to tell Dave, oh, Jeff's a smooth operator?
Say that again. I'm getting texts coming in. It's Eclipse Day.
Who do you think was writing to Dave about how influential you were going to be?
Shit, your guess would be much.
Heyman?
See, that's what I'm saying. I truly don't know who Dave talks to. I really don't. That's a good question. Is your first? I mean, I don't have a clue.
The first major event since the AAA relationship with AEW started ended with the Young Bucks capturing the AAA titles in an unannounced surprise match at the annual Rey Reyes show on March 16th. What's notable is that both a member of WWE management and 3 members of AEW management are on this show. Now, I know enough about working with WWE to know that when you get a new booking or you get a new hiring, they let you honor your existing dates. You did this more than once here. On this particular day, you're teaming with Killer Cross and La Mascara to take on Psycho Clown, Mamba, and Maximo. These days, we know Killer Cross is carrying Cross. But was that a little awkward for you that I work there and they work here? And well, we're all on this show together, but not for much longer. Is that always an awkward period or no?
Not for me, but I can understand how someone may be younger in the business. It may be, but it really wasn't to me at all. But that was something that Conrad, when I, they offered the job, I accepted, and I said, "Hey, here is my calendar." And again, this is coming off of 18 and super busy, and I knew the stuff like internally that I could just put on the shelf. But bookings with promoters that I had confirmed and knew that there was a story behind it and everything that went with it, I'm like, "Hey, how do you want me to handle?" And I mean, Vince and Paul just, I can't say that they were like, but they were like, there was absolutely no hesitation. And no, you're going to go honor him. Okay. And then as I kind of went through that calendar, I remember saying, "Hey, I've got a Scotland booking coming up and I'm going to have to kind of miss this if you want that." And it was so far off. So I think it was a June or a July, and this was maybe February. They said, "We'll send somebody in your place." And I said, "Okay." I mean, that's how much they honored it. That it wasn't just canceled. "Hey, we're gonna send somebody in your place." So no, it was done very, very professional.
This was going to be your last match for quite a while. Did you know that going in? I mean, you just taken this office job, for lack of a better
Yeah.
word, with WWE. I know it's in Mexico, it's AAA, you're teaming with your pal Killer Cross, but did you think, does it cross your mind, hey, this might be it? This might be my last match.
I didn't really give it a conscious thought at all, and wasn't worried about that. That's yeah, no, I certainly, and Conrad, you think about where I sit today. I mean, that feels like the stuff we're talking about today feels like 2 or 3 lifetimes ago, and it's 5 years ago.
You would say once upon a time that you started as a quasi producer role and then you were under like the creative writing team. And then after about 6 months, you got moved to live events. So let's talk about that. This live event transition, does this happen around the same time that XFL was looking to come back and Vince was naming Heyman and Bischoff as like showrunners, if you will, for Raw and SmackDown? Is that when the move for you and live events happened or no?
I think we when I say we, me, Bruce, there was there's always internal change. Writers coming and going, lead writer, assistant lead writer, just the creative process. Look, I will tip my cat to Michael Hayes. It is the amount of work he's done through the years, on top of producing and on top of him being every TV, him doing live events. And I know Adam Pearce had stepped in and done live events. And so there was kind of a process going on. And one night late, when we landed back in White Plains, yeah, I think it was Bruce. Bruce, I think even either during the flight or before we took off, he said, when we land, just kind of hang tight, let everybody get off. Vince wants to talk to you. And I'm like, okay. And then that's when he said, live events, what do you think? And Conrad, you know me well enough now, but I'm like, hell yes, that's in my wheelhouse. That is something that I've always had a passion for it. I just do. I love the live entertainment aspect, from all of it, from the routing. I mean, before you even figure out where, what town you're going to, the routing of it, the booking of it, the marketing of it, opening the doors, the execution, just all of it. And obviously I wasn't going to be involved in all that, but I was going to be involved from I guess you could say marketing, creative, live event spots, booking, all those hats as it relates to, it's a massive machine with a lot of events, juggling with guys with days off, and what you're advertising, as far as TV main events, the dark matches, to the non-televised events, just the whole strategy. But I was elated that's where I was moved over into, because the creative process there, split into two teams, but it is again, lots of moving parts, big, massive teams. Again, I was like, I can really help out this live event process. Not that I couldn't help out creative, and I think I did, on several occasions. But the live event, something that I could really sink my teeth into, and Vince knew that. He was aware of that. So I was very excited about that opportunity.
Well, we're excited to tell you guys about the perfect gene. That's right.
Oh, yeah.
The perfect gene. Let me just go ahead and give you the fast track here, boys. You get older, you get them long boys on you, and they get tangled up in your jeans. If your jeans are uncomfortable on your scrotum, boy, this is for you. I'm not kidding around. These are the most comfortable jeans that have ever been in my household. My wife absolutely loved them. Yeah, my wife's even checking them out. Guys, are you tired of your classic rough and rigid jeans crushing your nuts? Are you tired of wearing oversized jeans that make you a laughing stock at the office or the bar? Is your wife tired of you wearing sweats or khakis, God forbid, because you just hate wearing jeans? Well, today's sponsor, The Perfect Jean, has finally solved all of your denim difficulties. You see, they make great looking, perfect fitting jeans that are as comfortable as sweatpants. And what's the secret? Well, it's a special denim fabric that's super soft and has the perfect amount of stretch, so you can squat, do yoga, or just sit around in them all day without ever wanting to take them off. They make 6 fits from skinny to thick. And they've got waists that go from 26 to 50. And how about lengths from 26 to 38? That includes the big boys, the short kings, the tall dudes, and all the rest. They got you. And for a limited time, our listeners can get 15% off their first order plus free shipping when they go to theperfectgene.nyc, or just Google The Perfect Gene and use our code MyWorld. You'll get 15% off. And I got to tell you, this has been an absolute game changer in my household. As with everything else, we test it before we talk about it. It came to the house. The wife opened the box and she said, "Are these for me?" She didn't realize they were my size, but she saw how comfortable they were and thought, "Man, these can't be your jeans." But they are. You're going to love the way they're so comfortable. They're so stretchy. You can move around in them. Seeing Orange Cassidy wrestle in jeans makes sense. He's probably wearing the perfectgene.nyc. He probably used our promo code MyWorld15. He probably got 15% off and free shipping. Seriously, the Perfect Gene doesn't stop there, though. They've revolutionized t-shirts as well. They've got just enough stretch to hide that beer belly and also accentuate your arms and chest for that flawless look. It's really as soft as butter without shrinking in the wash like all your other tees. It's just perfect. The Perfect Gene always has free shipping, exchanges, and returns, and you can have peace of mind knowing that your order is completely risk-free. It's finally time. Stop crushing your balls with uncomfortable jeans and go to theperfectgene.nyc. Our listeners will get 15% off your first order plus free shipping, free returns, and free exchanges when you use the code MyWorld15 at checkout. That's 15% off for new customers at theperfectgene.nyc with the promo code MyWorld15. And after you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Fuck your khakis. Get the perfect jean.
I was hoping you were going to do that hashtag.
You got to do that.
Pull that back up there because Karen didn't do what Megan did, but guess who did? Two of my daughters in the house. They were like, "Oh my God!" I said, "Yep," and I said, "Go." The website, the URL is great, but the hashtag is what got the. It went viral, Connie. It kind of went viral in our house. The hashtag F %K your khakis. F your khakis, boys. Code MyWorld15, the perfect jean. It's great. .nyc/MyWorld15.
Check it out. The perfect jean.nyc/MyWorld15. Use that promo code MyWorld15. Try one pair. You'll be back.
Yes.
So listen, we announced at the end of June, that's when Paul Heyman is going to get SmackDown and or he's going to get Raw, and Eric Bischoff is going to get SmackDown. Whatever. They're the executive directors. It's named on June 27th is when that becomes official. And it's written at the time, Heyman had expanded his role to become one of the key people in creative in recent months, attending SmackDown events, but he was still heavily focused on family and other projects. But this is very much a full-time role. The fact he's doing it tells you McMahon had to be paying him a lot. He recently took, he being Paul Heyman, his rightful place in the WWE Hall of Fame. Did you catch his induction speech? What'd you think?
Twitter, bits of it. I didn't get to see all of it. I'm going to go back to Conrad. Why is Caitlin Clark the ratings bonanza she is? And we'll get to the Paul Heyman comments on that. But that's what I was watching Friday night and literally got lost into. I was in a hotel room, went to visit my daughter, had wrestling on one channel and the basketball game on another. I was double screening it. She's just a ratings juggernaut. What is it about her that is literally, it's not a little bitty rating. It's not up a little bit. It's transformative. Do you have an opinion on that, Conrad Thompson?
Yeah, she's white.
I'm not.
She's the best. She's the best in WNBA player that's been white this good this early. I just think it's captivated. Like I'm not saying that to be controversial, but I'm saying
no, you're not. But I'm curious. Okay,
I don't think Eminem would have come out of the gate with as strong as sales. Don't get me wrong; he was going to be a star. Talent always rises to the top, but he got fast tracked because he was a white dude, and that was different in the hip hop world.
Dre.
Well, it's different in the NBA. I'm just saying, like, I mean, am I way off base? I know you're more of a basketball junkie than I am, but it's like people were talking about boxing when they thought Tommy Morrison was going to be good. Like,
yeah,
Danica Patrick all of a sudden had a little bit of buzz as a race car driver. Like, what? Now the difference here is Danica didn't win very many races. I think Caitlin Clark's going to win more than her fair share of games.
And this is why I love doing the podcast. You know, Conrad, I love you, but I love picking your brain because you're not in. I'm in the basketball bubble, if you will. I mean, I'm into it, and my because I was like, now people. I mean, Conrad, on a Friday night, 14 million people watched that game.
14 million old white people.
No, Conrad, that's what I'm saying. It's hitting every demo. My gut reaction was Steph Curry changed basketball.
Yes.
He did. There's no, you can like put a stake in the NBA. He changed the game. And
they no longer want to drive. They want to shoot.
So to me, Caitlin Clark is the first video game real life basketball player that the girls have seen.
Well, there you go.
I'm taking it's not a black or white thing. It is, oh, wow, I get to see this girl who's really like a video game, who fires it from 35 feet out and drains it. Yes, she's got a good team and all this. And the Larry Bird comparisons, how she can handle the ball, that doesn't get numbers. Karen's mother in her 70s watched the games. kids are watching it, just all that. But Conrad, you just said anyway. Paul Heyman's acceptance speech, that the parts that I called it, I expected nothing less. I mean, just to have coffee with him, he's an entertaining dude in so many ways. He's again, me and you have laughed and cut up, and his skill set. And I went back and me and Karen, when was that? We were having a conversation, whatever, and I just said, hey, for my money's worth, Paul Heyman and Sami Zayn set this whole bloodline thing up. And, I mean, I think that those two characters really turned up the storyline emotional attachment to the bloodline. And Paul's facials are irreplaceable to that character package. So if a man that has a gift of gab can do so much without talking, give him a live mic in that kind of setting that he's really blurring the lines between fact and fiction, because it's about his entire life and in Philadelphia and the controversy, or the perceived controversy, but also heading into WrestleMania weekend. Buddy, it was right in his wheelhouse, and he delivered.
No doubt he did. One of the better Hall of Fame induction speeches we'll ever see. And, of course, in this era, 2019, Dave was giving him plenty of flowers. Not so much for Bischoff. Saying basically, say what you want about Bischoff and a lot can be said, but he's always been a great television heel character. He would also say that hiring Bischoff, at least to Dave, means that perhaps Vince is not really paying attention to pro wrestling. I found that interesting, that this is really one of the first times that Dave would say, boy, maybe he's not got his finger on the pulse, just in the hiring of Bischoff. Here's the question from the Observer. The question becomes the hierarchy of everything. When Bruce Prichard came back, the idea was set at first as he'd be the guy under Vince, which ended up not being the case. All right. The hierarchy had been Vince McMahon as the top guy, with Paul Levesque and Kevin Dunn as the other main guys, Dave Kapoor as senior vice president of creative, as well as Ed Koskey. Boy, things change and things stay the same. We've spent a lot of time over the years talking about Ed Koskey a little bit, but we haven't spent very much time at all talking about Dave Kapoor. I know you're familiar with Dave. What can you tell us about Kapoor?
Love Dave Kapoor. It is a monumental task of managing, let's say, a team of 8 to 10 Raw writers and 8 to 10 SmackDown writers. And Dave would have to manage up, which is obviously Paul Levesque, obviously at the top, Vince, others in that, I'll call it fourth floor, that executive. But then he had to manage down, and he had to interview writers and hire and fire writers, and then manage teams. Dave's managerial, look, creative subjective, and Dave Kapoor can produce, he can write, he can put a show together with a blank piece of paper. He can do all that. But what my observations were is that Dave managed both teams, like I just said, going up corporately and going down, and with all the other departments in the organization. It's a 16-hour-a-day job to do right, and hats off to the dude that did it for years and years and years.
Well said. He doesn't get his flowers. I'm glad we at least got to acknowledge him here. You spent some time around creative. This is the era where there's the rise of Becky Lynch working against Charlotte and Ronda Rousey. We're building towards Batista and Triple H at WrestleMania. It's Kurt Angle's retirement tour. What did you think of this whole brand split and what it did creatively? One half with Bischoff, one half with Heyman, at least for a little while.
The amount of hours that were spent on the brand split. But when we'll call it the negative feedback that kind of Eric got, I always thought, and again, look, I voiced my opinion on his days in TNA, but as it related to the executive directors of both shows, I thought, okay, again, another growth process that there's going to be a fully dedicated all the way up to all the relationships with Fox and all the relationships with Peacock, called Comcast or NBC at the time, just kind of managing all the teams. It was a very much corporate structure. So you could just kind of see how that went. And then the draft and the separation of the rosters, and it was very laborious. Lots of time spent. But, you know, as it rolled into Mania the next year, and so that's the 2020. Is that 2020 Mania or 2019? I'm what you just mentioned, Batista.
2019.
2019, yeah. Okay, coming out of that is when all the draft stuff went in. But no, so I don't know what your specific question was, but again, building toward, you know, and I know I've said this a few times, during my time there, I don't want to say it was dominated, but much of it was the new SmackDown relationship and being ready for it and then executing it once it came online is a big deal, a really big deal. Network TV on Fridays.
Here's another big deal. You're going to make the news again. Quote, Impact has filed a countersuit against Jeff Jarrett, who had sued them first for $4.8 million, claiming they'd violated the copyrights and trademarks of GFW Amped by putting the 16 episodes of the show on pay-per-view, streaming, and DVD. He's claiming each 1 hour show is worth $300K. And Jarrett said the planned merger of GFW and Impact, which fell apart when Jarrett was let go, saw him give the only masters of the tapes to Impact, and they admitted they deleted the tapes. Anthem said Jarrett failed to copyright and trademark the tapes and gave Impact the license to use the tapes. Jarrett said he tried to copyright and trademark the tapes, but needed physical copies to do so, and the reason he didn't have them is because Impact deleted them. Boy, this was messy. Probably still is. I don't know what you can or can't talk about. I know that cooler heads have prevailed and we've moved on, but what can you tell us about the crux of that breakdown from the Observer there?
I am so glad it's all in the rearview mirror and all sides, to my understanding, are happy that everything was resolved. But the simplistic term, and it's public knowledge, were okay. You know, I put all the responsibility or everything that I should take responsibility for. In October of 2017, we went our separate ways. But in a lot of ways, as it relates to the 16 1-hour episodes, the toothpaste was out of the tube. And so those were aired. They took place of one night onlys in the contracts that Anthem Wrestling Exhibitions had. And so there was a replacement value. I provided content. The merger didn't go through. So I provided content. So we're going to have to land on a number that, had you not had these tapes, you would have had to have gone to Orlando, to a studio, to wherever, and produce 4 3-hour premium content pay-per-views. That was the crux of it. It got really messy and really ugly, and I'm glad that I obtained a great legal mind and a team of legal minds, and had to go through the process like you know, I've shared with you offline. It was uncomfortable and ugly, but it was also what's right's right. You know, we didn't want to work. We didn't want to work together anymore at that time. That still didn't solve the case that, okay, you aired content but hadn't paid for it in any way. And yes, the merger had not gone through because that was a part of the deal. The merger goes through, points in the company, blah, 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 blah. We would have had a much more deeper relationship. They never pulled the trigger on any of that, and had the opportunity, obviously, multiple times, beginning in January of 2017. So here we are by October, and the merger was still not complete, not our responsibility, completely theirs. And so finally, as just a part of the whole process that gets very, very lots of legal stuff in it. But I filed suit to get money. They counterfiled. I don't say to play the legal game, but as a strategy, if you will. And we finally figured that thing out and settled. Years
Well,
later.
we're trying to figure out what the hell happened to Eric Bischoff. I think he's still trying to figure it out. He was let go after just 2 episodes of SmackDown on Fox. And Meltzer, boy, he's critical. Bischoff was unfamiliar with the talent and many of the business changes when he arrived. In very short order, it had become more how the company would make the inevitable move and handle it publicly after pushing so strong to investors about the value of his hiring. When Ryan Ward burned out as the head writer of SmackDown and Ed Koskey from Raw was moved over, a lot of people expected Bischoff to be the next casualty. He would continue. Ironically, it was Prichard, who McMahon had hired several months earlier, who had pushed for Bischoff in that position. Prichard, like Bischoff, was a product of the pro wrestling in the 80s and 90s. He also had a reputation, most noted during his brief period with MLW, of being dated in his approach to wrestling. It was noted to us by MLW officials how much more in tune with current wrestling and relating to modern talent that Jim Cornette was than Bruce Prichard when both performed similar duties in that company. Yeah, I don't know why anybody thinks Bruce Prichard is good at wrestling. What was that? Last night was the largest WrestleMania of all time? Okay. Anyway, let's move on. What was that? Raw's got its biggest gate ever tonight. Oh, the biggest ever last Wednesday or last Monday. Okay. All right. Wait, and what's that? Sponsorship revenue higher than ever? Wait, and social media higher than ever? And more ticket sales than ever? You're right. Bruce doesn't know fuck all about wrestling. What are we doing?
Conrad,
I don't understand how, like, it's just really now just clicking for me reading this when everything that Bruce says is wrong and terrible and awful. You know the rest of the story. Boy, the chickens are coming home to roost. It's wild.
It's bizarre. But I used to get, and look, we all do it from time to time. It's in every walk of life, Conrad. Every walk of life now. There's a lot of confusion out there.
Know it alls who don't know shit.
Yeah, well, that's called confusion.
I don't know what it is, but I mean, it's just now clicked for me, like recording this as I'm reading that back, like as I'm just reading on and on and on about what a stupid dumbass Bruce Prichard is and how, he doesn't keep up with wrestling anymore and it's passed him by and blah, blah, blah. What?
Connie, and here's what's, gosh almighty, and this is, look, it's life, but the amount of conversations that I had with my dad and hearing those voices and a Jerry Lawler conversation when I'm, just at different stages and gosh, even nothing replaces experience and wisdom. Nothing. I mean, literally nothing. Now, should I or anyone else, Bruce or whatever, get on their high horse and stand on their platform and say we're know-it-alls? No. But there's a real simplistic term. If you've experienced something, you got a little wisdom. Are you know-it-alls? No. But hey, let's talk about, that's the thing. Let's talk about it. And let me share my experience. And, in so many ways, Conrad, not to get into recovery talk, that's what recovery is all about. Hey, man, I'm going to share my experience of what happened to me. And then I'm going to tell you my strength of how I persevered and turned a loss into a victory. And out of that, I'm hoping I give you hope that you can do the same. But it all starts with experience. Nothing replaces experience. Nothing. In life, in business, in family relationships, in business relationships. I mean, it's just...
Listen, it really clicked for me that the tribalism that exists in wrestling was born out of the Wrestling Observer newsletter.
Conrad.
No, I'm being sincere. That just now clicked for me. I know I'm a little slow on the uptake every now and again, but goodness gracious, it's like Dave's been telling everybody for so long what's good and what's bad that people forgot to actually pay attention and make a decision for themselves. And people who are voting for themselves with their wallet say Bruce Prichard knows a thing or two about wrestling.
And like for me, I've never, like, you don't even entertain, like you're going like, what are you talking about? That's how the business was built, on wisdom and knowledge. And then, hey man, we're going to see something that worked. And oh my God, Stone Cold Steve Austin said 316. Let's roll with that. That was good. Did you hear the people respond? It's not any kind of magic elixir, but it's so bizarre, kind of what you just said, that, oh, Connie, the simple terms, and let's keep having fun here. Wouldn't you like to have $100 bill or a $50 bill for every time you've heard people say, I hated Jeff Jarrett?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Well, he's an idiot. He's this, he's that, he's this and that. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. But they have preconceived notions. I think that's where you're going with it.
Yes.
The preconceived notions that are way off the mark.
And they continue to be. Like, when Bruce was on TV hugging Cody the other night, there's negativity on social media. And it's like,
huh?
What? Where does this come from? Like, you read something somewhere, but none of the parties involved. It's just amazing.
Oh boy.
Listen, here's what's written. Prichard, 56, and Ed Koskey, the former head writer of Raw, will be the key people driving SmackDown. Bischoff, Prichard, and Koskey had been the same ones running the brand since July. Man, 2019. It's so crazy to think, Bischoff's back, you're back, you're working behind the scene. You were in a WWE ring. Bruce is back. You're working behind the scenes with guys like Sanjay and Abyss. Who would have thought that? I mean, 2019's got to be one of the crazier years of your entire career.
For sure. I mean, 2022 was bizarre. I mean, the pandemic was, yes, Conrad, but 2019, and look, my accountant I have the same accountant that I had when I was 18 years old. So it's safe to say he's seen every 1099 I've ever had, and gone through the journey. It was the big, I'll call it January of 2019 to December of 2019. Yes. Very grateful. Very, very, very grateful. It's, again, sometimes it's hard to put into words. When I finally, by the grace of God, made the decision, to get out of my own self's way and kind of let God run the show, exceedingly and abundantly more than I ever could ask, think, or imagine.
So, Jeff, that'll do it. We're going to put a button on 2019 and we're going to get in our Wayback Machine. 15 years. We're going to 2009, Lockdown 2009. One of the biggest pay-per-views in TNA history next week from Philadelphia, of all places. That's where we'd see Sting defend the TNA title against Mick Foley and the 6 Sides of Steel. We got Team JArrett of yourself, AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, and Samoa Joe, taking on Team Angle, which is Kurt, Nash, Booker, and Scott Steiner. The main event Mafia. Danny Bonaducci's on the pre-show. That's not a fever dream. We're talking about it next week here on the show. Love to hear your questions as well. You can keep up with us at MyWorldPod on Twitter. I'm sorry, the place to do it is not MyWorldPod on Twitter. That is a handle. But the place to ask questions and to catch all of our archives is myworldpod.com. That's MyWorld on YouTube or myworldpod.com. Either one will work and get you there. You get these shows early and ad-free over at adfreeshows.com. And you never know when we're going to go live on our YouTube. Going to be some big news happening. And we want to be there to give you Jeff's take. MyWorld on YouTube.com. Also an excellent place to advertise here on the program. Advertise with JArrett.com is available if you're looking for men 25 to 54. And we've got some great new swag and merch available for you as well over at boxofgimmicks.com, including the American Dream t-shirt. Jeff, I love talking about your full story, and we couldn't really tell the story of you and your life without 2019. Another little puzzle piece fitting in there. One day we're going to have fun. We're going to talk about 2022 because what a crazy year that is. But what everybody's talking about is tomorrow night, as you're listening to this, AEW Dynamite. Will the Rhodes finally finish the story and beat a Samoan named Joe for the world title? Tune in and find out. And Nicholas and Matthew are going to do a little show and tell that's going to have the internet talking. And we're going to do our part next week right here on My World.
Peace.